It's a bit of a stretch to say they're the team you want to watch, though, isn't it? When you've got sides like Manchester City, Brighton and Arsenal.
Well, I mean, Newcastle, the last time I checked, finished above Brighton.
Well, just because you finish above someone doesn't necessarily play better football.
Well, I would argue they do.
OK. All right, then. That's your prerogative, Don. Ian, quite the transformation for a side that was flirting, of course, with relegation last year.
I mean, it's fantastic, isn't it? I mean, the key side, that great place in Newcastle, that's going to be going wild tonight. They haven't been in the Champions League since the late, great Sir Bobby Robson was in charge and Alan Shearer was knocking in the goals. So it's a wonderful, wonderful night for a football-crazy city. But I tell you what, that is a useful point as well for Leicester City. They defended for their lives. Where was that defensive performance earlier on this season? First clean sheet they've kept since the World Cup. And it means that if they win at the weekend and Everton don't, Leicester will stay up because they've got the best goal difference of those down there. So there was some rhyme in the way that they went about their job, and they nearly won it at the end. But it's Newcastle's night, isn't it? You can see what it meant for the players at the end.
Eddie Howe gets a lot of credit, of course, and his coaching staff and the players. But the one thing I'm most impressed by, and I have enjoyed watching them play, I think there's an argument to talk about the other teams, but I think when you throw in the atmosphere of St James's Park and those home games, it is something a bit special. But one of the things that's impressed me with Eddie Howe, with a bunch of coaches now who just moan about playing staffs and money and superstars, and this is basically what I'm working with, is look at a lot of the guys that have done a great job for them. Now, the back four has been pretty steadfast, right? No real superstars, but steadfast. But then you look at Almiron's form, then he also had injuries. Joe Linton's form. Isak had injuries as well. Callum Wilson lost form, regained it. Jacob Murphy has played his part. Sean Longstaff has been excellent. Joe Willock has been fantastic. None of these players would even come close to getting a mention, and you know I've talked about this before, would even come close to getting a mention, maybe Isak's is an exception, when we're talking about the big teams. And yet they've played as well outside of Man City and Arsenal. They've been super competitive. He has coached these players and got the best out of them. And all those players that I mentioned, but particularly Murphy, Longstaff, Willock, Joe Linton, are playing better now. They've all been at the club for a long time. They're playing better now than they've ever played. Why is that? Because they've got a good support staff around them and structure around them, but they've been coached and they've been allowed to play. And they haven't had to go Newcastle thus far and spend stupid money on players who are going to disrupt the squad. And we'll see what happens this summer now they're in the Champions League. But I sincerely hope they're going to continue with the strategy that they've had, is don't bring one big ego in to blow this apart. Just keep building blocks and building blocks. And I think Eddie Howe takes, obviously, great credit for getting the most out of players that were, in all honesty, when he arrived, just going through the motions.
Has Eddie Howe exceeded your expectations of him, Ian?
No, not really, because I think he was a very bright coach at Bournemouth. Remember, they were 91st in the Football League, second to bottom of League Two when he took over at first as a manager. So he's always been bright. He's taken them right up through the divisions. Had a brief spell at Burnley, it didn't work. But he's smart, he's innovative, and just like Craig was saying, he creates a project which the players buy into, and his coaching's very, very good. I mean, Craig went through it there. Nearly all those players have improved under his tutelage, but they will have to expand that squad because they're going to be playing in the Champions League. So there will be some activity for sure from Newcastle this summer in the market. Maybe one of the players they'll be looking to get if Leicester go down is James Maddison.
Don't tell Stevie that. He hates James Maddison.
Well, he didn't play today.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.